The topic of this webinar would be neuroscience, well-being, and ethics. And it's targeted to attorneys, but open to everybody from what I understand. So with that being said, I'm just going to jump in and have you introduce yourself, and we'll do a brief chat.
I'm Robin Wolpert. I practice in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and I practice in a wide variety of fields, mainly because I started my career in big law, and then I went to 3M in-house, and then I became a county prosecutor, and now I'm back in private practice. So I've dealt with a wide variety of clients and organizations throughout my career, and the topic of well-being is fascinating to me because my clients, often well-being, ends up being a component of whatever I'm doing, whether it's criminal defense or cyber stalking and cyber harassment, or whether it's taking businesses through huge transformational change and helping lead that across the country or across the entire business matrix, which may include subsidiaries internationally. So what I've found is that well-being is an important component in leadership as well as serving clients.
So you basically, as an attorney, you've seen all aspects of how stressful practicing law can be, whether you're in government, private practice, in-house, or whatever you're doing. There's always going to be some level of stress. So tell us how you got into, you transitioned into being more involved in the lawyer well-being movement.
Sure. So I was president-elect of the State Bar of Minnesota, and that was the year that the important National Task Force on Lawyer Wellbeing reports were issued. And so I became the spokesperson early on. I can still remember in January of 2016, starting to understand this whole field. And the bottom line from the National Task Force reports was that the legal profession was actually the most hazardous of all professions to our health, in terms of addiction, chemical dependency, as well as mental health. And that was a game changer for me because I didn't know that, first of all. And it made me aware of how at risk our youngest, newest lawyers are, because they're most at risk for chemical dependency and mental health challenges. So I just thought, well, the next generation's at risk. And we as lawyers and as state bar associations or bar associations across the country have an obligation to not only get the word out about the challenges that the legal profession poses to our health, but also start leading change, because the newer generation does want and just thinks about well-being in a completely different way. How do we build the future for them so that when they're in charge, and they will be in charge soon, and it'll be wonderful when they are, how can we help them build a new kind of legal culture that is supportive of lawyer well-being and health, and at the same time elevates client service? Because if you're not a good or healthy lawyer, that impacts your competence, it impacts everything you do on behalf of clients, not to mention, of course, your personal life and your personal health.
That is absolutely correct. I saw in your bio that you are also, you have served on the National Task Force on Lawyer Wellbeing, correct?
Yes, and that organization recently became something new. It's called Institute for Wellbeing in Law, IWIL. And so you should look out for IWIL. I'm the treasurer of that organization right now, I'm proud to say, and we are going to continue the work of the National Task Force. And of course, it's a global effort.
Amazing. And can you please tell us a little bit more about, first, can you introduce your co-presenter for the April 21st talk?
I would be happy to. Her name is Joan Biebelhausen, and she is the executive director of Lawyers Concerned for Lawyers in Minnesota. Lawyers Concerned for Lawyers is the lawyer assistance program in Minnesota. And Joan has, career-long experience in terms of assisting lawyers through mental health and chemical dependency challenges. She's actually the person who was mentoring me when I was president-elect of the bar, teaching me all these things, and I'm just grateful to have her as a co-presenter.
Amazing. And let's get into what is the topic. We talked about it, that it's called neuroscience, well-being, and ethics, but I know that your focus will be talking about sleep. Is that right?
One focus of this will be sleep. So neuroscience is a significantly large field, and I selected two topics from that field to talk about that I think will have a big impact on lawyers. So one of them is sleep, and it turns out that, of course, to be a good lawyer, you have to be a healthy lawyer. And it turns out that most of us don't know that everything that kills us in the industrial world is causally linked with lack of sleep. Okay, so when you think about dementia and Alzheimer's disease, stress and cardiovascular disease, anxiety, cancer, weight gain, and diabetes and mental health, all those things are causally linked with sleep. And so what we're going to talk about is the things that you can do to enhance your performance as a lawyer, your cognitive function, as well as your physical health. And that we'll also talk about the ethical implications of lack of sleep and how your perceptual lens actually changes. So you become a fear-based kind of person, which enhances the chances that you'll engage in unethical behavior. So we'll talk about some of those things. Another topic I chose is the whole field of happiness and the chemical oxytocin. So most people think of oxytocin as the sex chemical, the pregnancy chemical. Well, actually, it's the biochemical basis for happiness and well-being. So we're going to talk about how to generate that so you can actually create happiness not only for yourself, but everyone around you. And there's a whole field of neuromanagement, how you can be a leader and really leverage your knowledge of the biochemical basis of happiness to not only create your own joy and happiness and for you and your team, but also it's inextricably linked with economic prosperity. So we'll talk about that too.
That's the key, right? Because I think in my experience, isn't it true that when it comes to wellness, lawyers are probably the hardest sell?
I would agree with that, although it depends on what your organization or is like. There are organizations, I mean, I've practiced in virtually every sector of the legal profession, and you will encounter, of course, different cultural norms. Like if you're a prosecutor, for example, there are norms. If you're in-house, there are norms. And if you're a litigator versus a transactional lawyer, there are also these cultural perceptions of who you are and how you conduct yourself in those roles. And so there's a role-based implication for well-being as well. But it depends, the hard sell, lawyers are a hard sell. And I would just basically say, in my experience, the reason why is we have this culture that a lawyer is available for clients 24/7, that a lawyer will do anything that the lawyer can for the client, and it doesn't matter what the cost is to the mental or physical health of the lawyer. We have this culture. The truth is that we can better serve our clients when we actually are well. And so we have to bust up that cultural myth that being available 24/7 and working around the clock and pulling all-nighters for a client is something good. Actually, it seems, based on the literature, and we'll be talking about the neuroscience literature, if you do that, you are basically incompetent because your brain won't be functioning appropriately. And so if you really want to better serve your client, the best news is that you have to take care of yourself and have adequate sleep and also hack oxytocin in order to promote not only your well-being, but your own economic performance.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm going to just leave this with one thing that you said, and we'll have, hopefully people will join us on the 21st to learn more about why it's important for lawyers to practice well-being, to sleep more, because there is that economic impact. And that's the sell, I think, for lawyers, is that how can I be better and healthier and perhaps even grow my practice instead of lose competence and lose clients. So I'm really excited for you and your co-presenters to join us again on the Wellness Wednesday, April 21st at noon Pacific Standard Time. And the link to sign up, it's already on our website and on the Facebook group. And if you have any questions, you can contact the committee with that. Thank you so much, Robin, for joining us.